This is Seasoned Professional. Should I say my name? Hello, it's Hannah Octavia, and this is Seasoned Professional. Hello, my name is Hannah Octavia, and this is Seasoned Professional, a podcast for those looking for inspiration, career advice, and real stories of success. My guests and I explore the details of life, the nitty-gritty imperfections, the mistakes and lessons learned. It's not about the end goal, but rather all the moments in between that are worth talking about. Follow along to support my guests and my podcast, and enjoy new episodes every Sunday. Hello everyone, welcome back to Seasoned Professional. My name is Hannah Octavia, and we're feeling tired today. We had a long day. I think when I say we, I mean all three of us in our room. It's funny because I said this a few weeks ago where I was like, oh my gosh, like we all worked all day. And like that's actually the norm. People do work all day. So I shouldn't be complaining about it, but here we are complaining about it anyways. Anyway, welcome to the podcast, Bex.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is so lovely to have you. From the little bit that I know about you, I'm very excited for this conversation because I feel like we have been in a similar place in life and then have gone to do more creative things. And you are actually doing it, fully making financial sense and a living. And that's what I aspire to do. So I'm very excited for today's conversation.
Cool. Yeah. Or hopefully I can, yeah. No, it's good. It's really good. It's hard, but yeah, it's definitely a transition that I wanted to go to, but I still feel like I'm trying to navigate this new world. But
yes, I think that's like a reality of everything. We're always trying to navigate this new world because with, you know, the speed of social media, the speed of like AI, like I feel like just everything's changing so quickly that we kind of have to like continue changing with it. Like no longer can we simply just like learn something and then be good for the next 40 years. It's like, no, you have to constantly be kind of upping your game, which I suppose is exciting, but also can be a little bit like,
yeah. Like you kind of sometimes just want things to slow down, like work out exactly where you are, but it doesn't happen like that.
No, it doesn't. I know it's like you want things to be, and listeners, as you will realize, Bex started your career as a teacher.
Yeah.
So I think the perfectionist type A is probably something that you align with.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So it's kind of like, oh, you want things to be a certain way, but then by the time you have it that certain way, everything's all gone out the window. So it's like, okay, well, what was the point of that?
Agreed.
So before we continue talking on, why don't you tell my lovely listeners first, like, subscribe, do all those things because I always forget to say that. Anyways, why don't you tell my lovely listeners kind of where you are in life right now, your little elevator pitch.
Okay, so I am now a full-time ceramicist, and it feels really weird saying that. So I left teaching, so I was a secondary school science teacher, and I left teaching, I guess it's like a year and a half, almost 2 academic years ago, and jumped in full-time to ceramics, and I am making money from it. It's what I had envisioned for such a long time. So finally doing it, it's that moment of actually, you know, taking a step back and kind of giving myself a bit of a pat on the back. And so I make wheel thrown ceramics. So I make like tablewares and homewares. My style of ceramics is quite contemporary. So I don't have any formal training in ceramics. So it's all kind of self-taught. And I guess that's a good thing in a way because I didn't really know what like the restrictions were, what the traditional kind of potter laws of ceramics were. So I've just kind of seen stuff that I like, followed people that I'm like really influenced by, and then kind of found my own style.
Amazing. Well, there's so much I want to unpack, and I feel like if I start asking the questions I want to ask, we'll never get to the beginning of your life. So let's start with your picture. We've got your lovely picture on the wall there. If you'd like to pop it down, you're more than welcome to. Kind of having a little look. Tell me what's going on there. Are you the one in the hat?
I'm the one in the red hat, yeah.
Are you a fairy or a gnome?
I think it's supposed to be a wedding. I think.
Okay.
So I'm in the red hat with a tutu and some massively oversized yellow shoes on.
Lovely.
And I've got a bunch of flowers in my hand. And the person in the middle is my brother's friend. And then my brother's the one in the long suit jacket. And I think, so I grew up in Somerset.
Okay.
And this is going to fit every stereotype of like dating siblings and stuff. It's like, but I think in this scenario, I'm marrying my brother, basically. Yeah.
Don't even feel weird about that. Don't even feel, so as a child, my brother and I are 3 years apart. He's 3 years younger than me. And I really loved to play house. That was that's the best game ever, right? And he was my husband, and I would force him to kiss me. Like, I have a vivid memory. Okay, he stopped kissing me at like the age of 4 because he's like, "You get off me." But I vividly remember like being on our front sidewalk, and I'm like, I have like the little stroller with the babies in, and I'm like, "Come here, come here." And it was the last time he kissed me, and I was like, "Oh, my husband doesn't love me anymore." So I understand the whole like, no, you will be my husband, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know whose choice that was. We basically, my whole childhood was in the garden playing games. Like,
that's lovely.
We had like this huge fancy dress box, and we would just dress up. We played the Spice Girls a lot.
Okay.
So we also had a next door neighbour, and he would come round, and we'd all choose a different Spice Girl. I was always Baby Spice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's love. And what's the age difference between the two of you?
2 years.
2 years. And is he younger or older?
He's older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. And so that's quite nice that he was like willing to play with you.
So like he was massively into drama.
Okay.
So it was like I guess it was all kind of like his games that I followed along with.
Gotcha.
So we basically did like play fights. We choreographed fights and stuff.
That's so fun.
We used to get like tarpauling out, get the hoses out, like so get it like all wet, and then do these like crazy choreographed fights where we'd be like pushing each other and we'd be sliding across the garden.
That's brilliant.
And then we kind of pretended to kind of film it as well. But yeah, it was all kind of my brother's thing, and then I would go along with it. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a great childhood. I know, it's so nice. Like, it's nice when you reflect on your childhood, and from what I hear, it was very positive for you. And like, I'm very grateful that mine was quite positive as well. But it was just like being in the garden, like mud pies.
Yeah.
Like that was, it's funny. I was walking around Brighton today, and I smelt this thing. It was like a specific plant. No idea what plant it is. And I'm like, and it like brought me back to childhood, because I'm like, that smelled disgusting. And I remember that exact smell when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Being like in the garden and just like doing whatever.
Yeah.
Is it just the two of you? The siblings?
Yeah.
And then parents, what are mom, dad?
Yeah. So we grew up as a unit, the four of us. My parents aren't together anymore, which is definitely a good thing. But yeah, so it was just, and because we grew up like in the countryside, we had a direct next door neighbour, and then other than that, it was like, really sparse houses. It was about a mile from my school down a tiny little country track.
Wow.
So it was like really isolated. So we, like, me and my brother kind of became best friends because we spent all our time together.
Yeah. Wow. That's really nice. How do you feel about like growing up as like a country girl? Is that what you would have identified yourself as?
Yeah, definitely. And I am surprised that I've been in Brighton for as long as I have.
Yeah.
I always thought I'd end up back in the countryside, and I will at one point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely a country girl at heart.
Was it that like stereotypical, like everyone kind of knew each other's business kind of thing?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And my school, like, so I went to a tiny village school for primary school, and I think there was about 90 kids in the whole school. Wow. And then secondary school, it was small again. I think it was about 500.
Okay.
And it's funny, like, you reminisce about childhood, but I guess school-wise, I never kind of found a group of people that I really got on with.
Yeah.
But that's only because it's a tiny school. So
there's not much opportunity.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
you just get on with the people in your year group, but they're like, none of us all have stayed friends. Like, we've all gone off in different directions later on in life. And we all kind of follow each other, I guess, still on Facebook and stuff, but we never communicate. But we were just all there in the same year group at the same time, but we're all really different people.
Yeah. I guess that like part of it is like, oh, what a lovely community that you could have. 'Cause like, I'm putting myself in like the shoes of the teachers at that school. You'd get to know everyone so well. And I feel like it'd be such a wonderful family, but at the same time, there might not be the people that mesh with you as well. Yeah. So there's definitely like with anything like that, there's positives and negatives, but it's nice that you can look back at it positively.
Yeah.
What were you like in school?
I love school. Well,
Yeah.
I love learning.
Okay.
I guess I did like school. I did like school, but I love learning. And I've always like wanted to learn stuff like that was beyond what we were learning in the classroom. So I was a massive geek, but not like the kid that sat at the front of the class and answered every question. I was like the quiet geek who would like do research on my own and then not tell anyone I was doing that. And I remember like when results day, we all found out our GCSE results.
Yeah.
And I did really well. And I think teachers weren't surprised at all. But I think my friends were a little bit surprised because I always hid how nerdy I actually was.
I see. Why was that like a subconscious thing or just?
No, I just knew that people didn't like. I mean, it wasn't cool, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And other kids didn't. They didn't want to see you sat in the library. So
Fair.
yeah, it wasn't like a self-conscious thing. I just kind of knew that that's not the cool thing to do. So I just did it in my own time.
Fair enough. And when you say that you loved learning, but you didn't necessarily love school, what do you mean by that? Like, how do you see school and learning as two different things?
I always follow the rules, but I always find the point where you can stop following. I find that fine line, and I think I'm not one for routine either. So, for example, I would miss the school bus on a regular basis.
Yes.
And I would walk to school. Sometimes I hitchhiked, which my mum found out about.
Well, I guess it is a small town now. Or would it be like?
Well, it was because I was a bit more rural, so I had to.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You hitchhiked.
well, I only did it a few times, and then my mum found out I never did it again.
Yeah, good.
And I would turn up at school, and I would just say, "Been to the dentist," and it was like I was at the dentist like once a week almost, and because the school knew how. Like I didn't cause any trouble.
Yeah.
They all just let me get away with it. So I found like which boundaries I could kind of push, I guess, against, and other ones like I had like complete respect for the teachers, and never got into trouble in class. But I would always see where I could push the boundaries a little bit, I guess.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I just I think even that, like, I just don't like routine, really.
Yeah. Do you think it was like, and I'm just totally spitballing here, this could be totally wrong, but I know like people who are maybe a little bit more intellectual, a little bit more intelligent, they tend to push boundaries a little bit. And it sounds like you did it in a very... Yes, you relate to school, but in like a somewhat respectful way, because it's not like you were being disruptive in class or being rude to teachers. Do you think maybe that was kind of what was happening? Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Like summer homeworks and things, like I knew the teachers that were setting homework just for the sake of setting homework. And then I realised the homework that actually was going to make a difference. And so the stuff that was just set for the sake of it, I either wouldn't do or would do like really badly.
Yeah.
Because no one marked it. It didn't matter. But I knew the ones I had to do, and I knew why. Like, if I knew the reason behind it, then I would follow. And I guess going back to like why missing school, it was tutor time that I was missing, and I didn't see that as a necessary.
Because your focus was learning, not the school bit.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Since coming here, I had no idea what tutor time was. And there's so many things that like I'm realizing because now I'm being a teacher, and I might edit this out, but is pissed a bad word?
Yeah.
Okay, I know that one. I did not know that. And the other day, and then we'll get back to you, but the other day I was like, I've been like trying all these different tactics to like bond with the children. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna like try to relate with you. And I'm gonna try to relate with you. And I'm gonna be like, you know what, I'm not that much older than you guys. Like, it's fine. Like, I've pissed off teachers before. And the whole class goes, and I'm like, what? What did I say? Because that is not a bad...
It's not a rude word.
It just means annoyed.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was really unfortunate.
So I'd say crap's the lowest, and then pissed is above.
You see, I would say it's the opposite. I would say crap. I would never say crap.
Yeah, no.
Or like shit, obviously.
Shit, same as pissed.
But I was just like, oh my word. But back to what I was saying. When you were like younger and in school and stuff, did you have any idea what you wanted to do?
I wanted to be a vet, I think.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, I loved animals. And I, like I said, I was really nerdy in my own nerdy way. I love science. I love maths. So it was a vet for quite a long time. And then when I got to secondary school, I think it started transitioning to become a doctor. And then that kind of carried on through A levels.
Yeah.
But it was always kind of the science route.
Yeah, more of like the really intense kind of route.
Yeah.
But I guess you had like a passion for learning, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what did your parents do?
So my mum, when my mum first had me, she, I guess, so she had like secretary jobs. So my parents originally were from Essex.
Okay.
And then they moved to Somerset in the countryside when they wanted to start a family. So they'd both had office jobs in London when they moved. So my mum was a secretary for a bit. And then when we were born, me and my brother, she was like a stay-at-home mum for the first few years. And then she went to uni when I was in, I guess, reception.
Yeah.
And then did her teaching degree.
Oh, wow.
And then she became a primary school teacher. I guess like I was year 3, year 4 when she qualified. So that was quite amazing that she did that. And then my dad's a builder.
Nice. That's pretty impressive that she did that.
Yeah.
Well, having children and all the rest.
I think she basically waited for me and my brother to get to school. So we were, had daycare. And then, and then she went to uni, and it's like pretty impressive because she was doing uni, obviously looking after me and my brother. She was like the main kind of childcare provider. And then she also had a job as well. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, like a part-time job.
Honestly, like women are powerhouses.
Yeah.
I like, even just now, like living on my own and stuff, like with my boyfriend and stuff, it's crazy how like overwhelming, like it's not like we have kids or anything or like any responsibilities. And I'm just like, but I suppose like you rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Like.
But it's the multitasking.
Oh,
it's
I know.
Impressive.
It really is. And, was she working at that small school?
She never worked at the same schools that I ever went
Okay.
to. She always said that she never wanted to do that.
To cross paths.
Yeah, and I'm glad. I wouldn't want that either. No, so she worked. She's worked at 2 different primary schools, but in the same area, and she's now a head teacher as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good for her. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, climbing up that ladder. It seems really intense when you're on like the other side of it.
Yeah.
Like, was it a long process?
Oh, as her daughter, because I sometimes see myself as like her friend as well. We've got a really close relationship. So as like her daughter, she's always stressed.
Oh gosh.
So I mean, but like she loves it, but it is really intense and it is really, really stressful. But also really rewarding, and she deserves all the successes that she gets.
Yeah. How long has she been a head teacher for?
I guess like 10 years.
Wow.
And she's just part-time retired. So she's just put her hours down a little bit and she's transitioning out of it now. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
It's really, really exciting, yeah.
She's probably like,
Yeah.
I get a break now. But it is like, it becomes such a part of your life, especially if it's something that you're passionate about, which, from what I hear, you found that. But it's like, it's hard to wrap your mind around it when you're like not quite there yet as a career. But when did you finished up your school? What did your GCSEs in?
So I always had something creative on the side. So I did obviously the English and the maths and the science as everyone else did. But I did like art, GCSE and textiles. Yeah. And then I also did PE, I think. So I kept kind of the creative side going. And then when I went to college to do A levels, at that point I was thinking I was going down the medicine route. So I did maths, chemistry and biology. But I also did an AS level in textiles.
Okay.
So that was back in the day. I mean, it's not that long ago really, but when you could still do like an AS level, which was just 1 year of something, which kids don't really do anymore, which is a shame because to get into medicine, I had to do the 3 academic subjects. So I had to do the maths, biology and chemistry, but it was nice to still have that bit of creativity in year 12 that obviously I dropped it to focus on the other 3 in year 13, but it was nice to still have that creative side.
Yeah, because throughout your life, you obviously had like this huge imagination, you know, playing with your brother and that sort of thing. But what other sort of, did you have any like extracurriculars that were particularly creative, or
so
in terms of like textile, were you making like your own clothes
yeah,
and stuff?
Yeah. So nerd in that sense as well. So I kind of like everything that I did, everything that I loved, it would creep into my everyday life. Like it didn't just stay at school. So textiles, I was always making stuff. There was always like little pins over the floor at home. My mum shouting at me, put the pins away.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I made my own clothes. I loved doing that. I used to alter like shirts and stuff and put them into dresses and things. So yeah, I always had that side of things.
Yeah.
I did play the accordion.
Oh, very niche.
But very niche. Very embarrassing.
Were you good?
No, I was shit.
Oh, that's important. That's quite, you don't really come across an accordion very often.
Yeah, I don't know why I've said it. Should we just move on?
No. I like it. Where did that come from? Just one day you found an accordion?
So I think my mum wanted us, me and my brother, I say us, wanted us to learn a musical instrument.
Okay.
So he did the guitar, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And for some reason I was like, I want to do the accordion.
Yeah.
Nobody else was learning the accordion because why would you learn the accordion? And when I got to secondary school, I quickly realised how super uncool it was. And that faded. That is the moment faded.
Oh my gosh. No, I can't say I played the accordion, but I did do some other weird things. Like for a while I wanted to be a dentist.
Yeah.
And or something in the medical field. And going back to the whole like playing house thing, I had 3 dolls that were Emma, Rebecca, and Cindy. And they had diabetes basically. Like I would cause them to have like health issues. Like if you're thinking you're weird, talk to me. And like I played with these dolls every single day after school until honestly 13 years old. Like it was
that's when I gave up the accordion.
Oh, okay. It's the real change point. It's like no more accordion, no more playing with dolls.
It's the year 8 to year 9 transition.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, you're a weirdo. You need to not do that anymore. And I'm like, well, you know, yeah. That's too funny. Well, you know, did you ever pick it up again?
No. Oh, no. I had this idea once and then it quickly went. I think I always like, it would be cool to know if I remember anything. But I think it's only one of those things when you're a bit drunk and you're like, maybe. Maybe
I could play something. I have to say, I don't think I enjoy the sound of an accordion, which is probably why I wouldn't get one. Like
it is weird because now when I'm in the studio doing my pottery, I basically just listen to folk music.
Okay.
And it's probably, it's obviously has come from that. But when my husband walks into the studio, it's like, what are you listening to?
That's hilarious. Clay really likes folk music too. But like almost like it's if someone's on a pirate ship and they're like tapping their feet or something. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's get back on track. So you graduated from A-levels and that sort of stuff with your mind on medicine.
Yeah.
How did you transition to teaching? How did that kind of happen?
So, it's quite... So I got into medicine. Mm-hmm. So I applied for uni to do medicine and I got in. And it was the gap between A-levels and starting uni. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to get out of Somerset. So just the small town vibe was, as a teenage girl, like I just wanted to, go and explore a bit. So I went to Australia the idea was just to go for 6 weeks to stay with my cousin.
Lovely.
And I was probably with her for about 5 weeks. And then I was like, I'm going to go and try going to a hostel. And I was 18. So I went to a hostel and I met all these incredible people that had been traveling for years and doing really cool stuff. And I just got swept away with it. Wow. So I actually ended up going to Bali. I messaged my mum and I was like, I'm not coming back for uni. And she was obviously just in shock because I'd worked so hard, like to get the grades, to do the interviews. And she was absolutely in shock. I also didn't have any money because I'd only planned to go out for 6 weeks and I was staying with my cousin, so I didn't have much money for accommodation and stuff. So she basically cut me off financially.
Oh God.
But bought me a flight home.
Okay.
So it was kind of like your only choice is to get on that flight and come home.
Yeah.
So I got on the flight, I got home, and it was like September time, and uni was starting at the end of September. And I said to her, like, this, I don't want to do medicine. It's not what I want to do. And she was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
We can come up with a plan B. And I said, but I really want to go back to Australia. Like, I want to travel for a bit more. So she was, I mean, you know, as much as you can be of a, you know, teenage mum, she was like, okay.
Whatever you say.
Yeah. So I think I left about 6 weeks later from the UK to fly back to Australia. Wow. And again, I still didn't really have any money. So as soon as I got to Australia, I just started working. So I got like a working holiday visa, and I work. And I had a year in Australia. And about Easter time, essentially in the UK, the tuition rates changed for uni. So they went from £3,000 a year to £9,000 a year. So rather than it being like 9,000 for your whole 3 years, like it's just, you know, escalated by times
psychotic.
3. Yeah. So during Easter, my mum messaged me and she was like, if you want to go to uni, be sensible, go in this September coming, because otherwise you're going to be in so much debt if you wait another year. Yeah. So I was like, right, okay. So I had really good grades. So I basically could kind of pick any uni I wanted. But the problem was I'd kind of missed the boat for all the good unis because it was like Easter time. So I just chose a university that was doing biology because I was like, I like biology. That's obviously, you know, where I was kind of going with medicine. I'll just pick this degree and then I'll work out from there. Yeah, what you kind of want to do. So I came back, I did biology. I really liked it. I then did a master's in it. Wow. I then actually started doing a PhD. I didn't kind of know like where I was going. Yeah. And then I was like, right, I actually probably need to earn some money now. So I guess I just didn't know what to do. And my mum's a teacher and I've got other teachers in my family. So I was like, oh, I'll be a teacher. So I then did my training. I absolutely loved the training. Like I really loved it. And then I became a biology teacher. Wow. Well, I have a lot to unpack.
So first of all, you went to Australia. First of all, that's amazing that you did that. Like to have the guts to actually say...
A bit insane.
But it's like, that's so wonderful because, you know, who knows where your life would have ended up if you hadn't done that. Yeah. And did you have some sort of like moment where you're like, I don't want to do the doctor thing anymore? Like what was the reasoning for that you didn't want to pursue it anymore?
I think I'd never taken a step back and actually thought, do I want to do this? Because I'd always had good grades. Everyone just assumed that's the route that you go down. So all my teachers just assumed it was the part, so you're going to be a doctor then, are you? And I was just kind of, because I don't even know when the idea first arose. It probably was even kind of suggested, maybe even suggested to me. Sorry, what was the question?
No, it's interesting you say that because it's so crazy. Like, again, going back to that whole like type A personality, I think we want to please people. So it's like if they say this is what you're going to be or this would be great for you, it's like, okay, sure.
And I think that's with the accordion as well. I think that's why I kept going for so long.
Just kept going. Oh my goodness, that's too funny. Interesting. So you kind of had this like almost like wake up. It's like, oh, the only reason I actually was pursuing this was because it's what you do if you're smart and intelligent and like science. Yeah. Interesting. Oh, it's so crazy, like, what our lives would be like if other people's like influences weren't there. Yeah. Like, of course, you can never know, but it's crazy how much other people's like perspectives, because my whole life I only ever wanted to be a teacher, but I was reinforced by the fact that everyone said you'd be such a good teacher, you're such a good leader, like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be the best teacher ever. And I'm just like, okay. So then I never explored anything else. So it can be like a toss-up, as everything is. So you went and you did your biology degree. Did you have any idea where that might lead you, or were you just kind of like going through the steps?
I was just going through the steps. Again, I just love learning. I love learning new stuff, and kind of, I thought probably research based. So that's why I did the masters. And again, I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. And then when I started my PhD, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to do a postdoc. But when I got to that level, I realised that it's kind of I always had a perception of a PhD of like you're on the edge, you're doing like the stuff that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
But actually, you're having to spend your first few years getting to the edge, and then you're learning new stuff.
I see.
And I found it frustrating that, you're spending a lot of time trying to get to the point where everybody else is.
I see.
Yeah, and it was also just a bit lonely. PhDs are a bit lonely, and I don't think I've got the right personality for it. I don't like routine, and I think a PhD, you've got to be someone that gets so engrossed in something, and you love like going down the rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and it's just
And I imagine, because was it specifically a biology PhD, or how do they determine?
So you apply, or you can apply with a topic that you want to research.
Okay.
I applied. There was already a set topic, and I applied to do that topic. So mine was a genetics-based one. It was looking at a bacteria and how it spread across the world.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it was
But I imagine a very male-dominated space.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Also as well, because I was doing genetics and I was doing a lot of like computer programming that's very male dominated.
Yeah.
Which I've never really been like, I've always been so fiercely independent that it's like, if it's all like men there, I'm like, I'm gonna like elbow my way in here.
Yeah.
So I guess it didn't really affect me like that, but socially, like I was like, I just again didn't really find my people, and I was a bit bored, and I was like, let's go and do something that's going to be a lot more lively. And that's when the teaching kind of the idea came about, because instantly you're like, it's chaotic, isn't it, being a teacher?
Yes.
And there's always stuff going on. It's literally, I would say, the opposite of doing a PhD, because a PhD is like calm, and you're managing your own time, and in a school it's just like
absolute chaos.
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah. I always think like in a school it's like getting on a train on a Monday, and it's going at high speed, and you don't get to get off until Friday.
Yes. Do you guys want to be a teacher? Or? And with the PhD, do you get paid during that?
Yeah, so you get like a stipend, so you get a set amount of money.
Oh,
so it's not a wage, you don't pay tax. It's not very much.
Okay.
But you kind of get like three installments of money through the year. So it's kind of just enough
to get by.
Yeah.
And when did you start your teacher training? How old were you?
So bad with working out the dates. I guess I would have been like 25-ish.
Okay. Yeah. So still very young. And to be doing your PhD at 25, oh my goodness, that's intense. I just imagine like people in that field. But as you said, it's like when you start a PhD, it's not like you're starting. It's like you're starting again.
Yeah.
And you have to like work your way all the way forward. How many years were you signing up for?
So PhD is kind of 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
3 if you're really on it.
Yes.
4 it can keep going a bit longer than that. Gosh. But I think you only get funding for 4 years.
Oh, okay. But potentially
you can just keep going.
You can just that is too much. Oh my goodness. So you went back to school, you did your teaching and that sort of stuff. At the time, was it a 2-year thing?
It's a one year, because I had my degree, so it was one year.
1 year. Well, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
And were you kind of right into the classroom after that?
Yeah, pretty much. So so during the training as well. So the where I learned, you did like, I think it was like the first few weeks at uni, and then you'd start going to a school from Monday to Thursday, and you'd only go back to uni on a Friday, and you weren't expected to teach from the beginning.
Yes.
But you were like, every week you kind of picked up a lesson. So by the time you got to Christmas, you had maybe done, a few lessons here and there, and then it just built after that through the year. And I really loved it. It was just fun. Like I loved how fast paced it was, because it was such a what's the word? It was just so different from the PhD.
Yeah. And that first classroom, what was it? Was it like a biology class, or how old were the kids?
It was a space lesson.
Oh, very fun.
And it was for year 7s.
Lovely.
And I was teaching them about solar eclipses, I think.
Oh, nice.
It was really good.
Wow. And how, like, obviously, it's really nice that you got to, because teaching is so much about forming relationships with the students. So it's nice that you had, like, that time where you were just, like, an observer, and then perhaps, like, a mentor, and then this, and then that. And then you finally got to that place of, like, teaching for the first time.
Yeah.
Before that first lesson, like, what were some of the feelings you had? Were you nervous? Were you excited?
Oh, so nervous. So I would say that I'm a massive introvert.
Okay.
But I know that I need to force myself to talk.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
So I don't, like, I'm always terrified. Like, I'm nervous now. Like, I'm always nervous about talking to new people and, like, standing up in front of a classroom. But, you know, like, you're never going to be able to teach unless you do that. So I kind of just, force myself to do it. And it is fun, but it's also nerve-wracking.
Yes. Yeah. Especially, it's like hard to explain it to someone who's not done it before.
Yeah.
Because it's not like speaking to a room of adults.
Yeah.
It's speaking to a room of people who have no filter.
Yeah.
I will say anything to you.
Yeah.
You're just like, ah.
And I think the best advice I got was, if you mess up in a class and it's just a dud lesson, my uni mentor was like, it doesn't matter. Like, the kids will probably forget. And they have so many lessons in a day. And that's not to say that it's not important, like, lessons are not important, but a one dud lesson, it doesn't matter, and they will forget it.
Yeah. And to add on to that, if you are listening and you're in a similar position where you've kind of messed up, own it as well. Because children and students, and, like, I think humans in general, if you do mess up and it's obvious, it's so much better if you just say, oh my God, I just messed up. Like, I'm sorry. Because then it shows, like, I'm very much, my teaching practice is very much like a very honest one, you know, as much as honest as you can be, depending on age and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it's also important to be like, oh, I just messed up there. And I think even if you are scared, that can almost, like, break down some of the barriers, because it's like you're no longer this perfect thing.
Yeah.
And even, you know, I remember growing up and, like, idolizing my teachers. That's not the case anymore. Like, did you feel like, looking back at your childhood education and then looking at education now, were you ever just like, oh my God, what's happened?
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? How did you deal with that one?
Do you mean, like, in terms of, like, behavior?
And just, like, general treatment of a teacher from the students.
I don't know, like, it's funny because I don't know how. Do you think it's got a lot worse then?
I to be fair, maybe I'm wearing rose-colored glasses, and I was a good student, so I would never be rude to a teacher.
Yeah.
But that, me saying that, I actually have been rude to teachers.
But I remember at my school, like, kids being really rude to teachers.
Really? Okay.
So but then I don't know how bad it was. I don't know if it's just stuck in my mind because I was the really good kid.
Exactly.
And I was like, that's so rude. But actually they were probably just, like, ignoring what a teacher said and just... Whereas now it would be, like, you know, swearing and...
all the rest.
Walking out the class. Yeah, everything else.
Well, I think it's also, like, me being from Canada, like, there's obviously going to be some differences between that. But I don't know how... Yeah, it's just an interesting thing to think about. But... What was your first job like? What was your, like, first position as a teacher?
So I worked in a Catholic school.
Okay.
I'm not Catholic.
Yeah.
I was put there on placement, and then I absolutely loved it.
Amazing.
and I stayed. So it was like a faith school. So it was essentially, and it's a state school, but because parents have to apply to send their kid to a faith school, you tend to get slightly better behaviour.
I see.
But it was it was in a big city, and I was a year 7 tutor, and then I wasn't just a biology teacher, I was a science teacher. So and I taught A-level chemistry as well.
Oh God.
Yeah, which was a bit of a surprise because I'm not a chemist. But it was just slightly stressful in your first year. But yeah.
Oh my. A-level chemistry. No, thank you.
I remember when I first got my classroom and the person that had been in there before was like a hoarder. So I threw everything out and I put all my displays up and like I put like the birthday wall up for my year 7 tutor group. So
that's amazing. I know it's exciting like the first day when you get to like redo it all and it's for yourself. And did you like what were some expectations you had of how that first year was going to go? And then what was the reality of that first year?
So I found the first year really hard. So I'm kind of the opposite of what most people have experience-wise. I loved the learning to become a teacher and just randomly teaching odd classes here and there. And I loved all of that and I had to write essays and stuff for my dissertation. I loved all of that. When it was full-time teaching, it was only teaching, I found it really hard to manage my time because it was just, there's so many lessons, there's so much lesson planning. And that's when it started to become a bit of a slog. I was always in this frantic state and I just never felt like I had enough time to do anything. Because the year before we had that Friday would be at the uni and it was always like a downtime and a time to kind of process the week. Whereas, going in that first year, it was just crazy.
Did you ever have any moments of like doubt of not feeling like you can continue in the profession or?
So then it kind of started in the first year because obviously I'm not in teaching now. I guess it just started creeping in. It crept in slowly. So I was never one of those teachers. So I was told teacher training that there's teachers that are zappers and there's teachers that are sappers. So ones that zap energy into people and ones that suck the life out of teaching. And I was never one of those like sucking the, even though I wasn't enjoying it, I wasn't one of those teachers that you try to avoid in the staff room that's just complaining all the time. But it was just something that slowly built over time. I wanted to teach the subject and share my passion for science. And the reality of being a teacher is that's only a small part of it. And it's just, you don't really have much I think time as well. I just that analogy that I gave about getting on a train on the Monday and then you don't get off this high speed train till a Friday, that's how it felt.
And in your personal life, like during this time, like run me through that. Like what was kind of, were you married at this time? What, did you have other responsibilities outside of teaching? Like kind of as much as you want to share.
So I got married in my first year of teaching.
Jesus.
And so my husband, we met just at the end of my travelling when I was...
is he Australian?
No. He's English and he is from Brighton. Well, he's lived in Brighton most of his life. So that's how I've ended up in Brighton.
Oh, lovely.
But so we met just at the end of my travelling. So we've been together for years. So
how old were you when you met?
I was 19.
This is literally the same as us.
He was 28 though.
Oh, an older man. Love it.
He didn't realise how young I was because obviously I was in Australia by myself. Like,
true.
Why would a 19-year-old be by themselves?
That's too funny.
But we stayed together, all through the youth. So he was just used to me. I guess because like I didn't carry on with the PhD, so he was just kind of like used to just support. He's amazing. He basically supports everything I do. So we got married in the first year of teaching, and then when I, started to not really enjoy it, he was just, my rock, my person I sounded everything off to.
And what were obviously like the overwhelming time commitment of teaching, but what were the other like small cracks that started to happen that made you realize that maybe it wasn't the right fit?
The behaviour. I naturally, I don't raise my voice. I'm not like a really strict person. So my behaviour management, it's not like I'm soft, but it's like patient and waiting. And that doesn't work for a lot of kids. And I tried a few different schools out to see whether it was the type of school I was in. And I ended up in a school that was like really... it was really challenging behaviour, and that was kind of like the push I needed to be like, go and do something that you actually really want to do. But yeah, the behavior and the time thing probably.
And were you, at this time, do you feel like you were bringing a lot of this home with you? Like, do you think it was impacting your like outside life?
Yeah.
And were people, colleagues and that sort of stuff, supportive of this? Like, did you ever share this with them?
No, I always hid it from colleagues. Like I've always shared things like with my husband and my mum, and I never because I didn't want to be that negative teacher that everyone wants.
Sucking thing stuck in your head.
Because I know that people love teaching, so I didn't want to be the one that's like, oh, this is all just the constant moaner. So I didn't share it with colleagues. So they were actually quite surprised when I left. And they were even more surprised when I left to do ceramics, because none of them knew that I was doing pottery.
Interesting.
So I started ceramics about just a year before me and my husband got married.
Okay.
So we just started as a hobby, and then that was like my escapism when I wasn't at school. So we would go to an open studio on like a Thursday evening after work, and then we bought a pottery wheel and put it in our flat. We built a little mini studio in our flat, and then we moved house and built an actual studio. And this was all in the background while I was teaching.
Before we continue with that, because I'm excited to explore that, but your mom being a teacher, when you told her that you were like struggling so much, how did she respond to you?
So she's a primary teacher.
So it's very different, yes.
And
did you ever consider going down?
I did for like a little bit, but then I was like, the bit that I love about teaching is the subject.
And the issues would still be the same, time and behavior. So she got it instantly. I mean, she's always got it. She's always been a massive supporter of whatever decision I've made. Lovely. And what was that, I guess, introduction into pottery? Because that's quite like I wouldn't even know how to, like, I've done it before, but I wouldn't say it's ever like become like an actual hobby. So where did that like spark come from?
I think it's because like I said, when I was younger, I was always doing creative things. I always had that like imagination and doing the textiles. And through uni, I guess I didn't really have a creative outlet. And then just randomly, like me and he wasn't my husband at the time, but we made a comment like, oh, wouldn't it be good to try out pottery? I don't even know which one of us suggested it. And then, it kind of snowballed from there, because there was two of us doing it. We were competitive with each other.
Love it.
So and then you obviously can split the cost of things like buying the pottery wheel, buying all the materials and stuff, and then you're sharing your passion with someone as well. So then that was really fun, because we were just bouncing off each other, bouncing off ideas, and like that doesn't have a background in ceramics either. So we then went down the social media rabbit hole, finding all these amazing potters and showing each other like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Definitely an escapism from everything else.
It sounds like it was a nice kind of area for you to, again, learn something new, which goes back to like your childhood and that love of learning, and then this kind of like relief almost from the chaos of work and from school and all that sort of stuff. And just going back to school briefly, do you think how do I put this? The pay, do you think that was also a factor as to your thoughts kind of being like, if I was paid more, maybe this would be worth it?
I've had this discussion with other teachers, and I don't think you could pay me enough.
No.
I'm not massively money motivated. I've always obviously want enough money to be able to do what I want to do and live comfortably. But I think it was more behaviour and lack of respect. And I was always in really supportive schools. I was really lucky that I was in supportive schools. But
I know what you mean. You don't want to be that person to be like, I'm finding this challenging.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. It is hard. How many years were you in it? Totally.
5. And I think there's that statistic, isn't there, about teachers who quit within the first 5 years. So I hit it.
But 5 years, like, I feel like that's 5 school years. That's 5 different groups of students. Like, you gave it a good shot.
Yeah.
I think it's not like you just popped your head in and said, no, it's not.
Yeah,
for me.
and I tried some different schools. So I tried a sixth form college as well.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I tried different. Yeah, and it just wasn't right.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, I think that's like the beauty of our society nowadays. It's like you no longer have to slog out, 40 years in a career and being miserable. It's like you actually can kind of take control of your life.
Yeah.
And decide to do something else, which is, wonderful. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure you'll look back on those 5 years with some ounce of positivity.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And I, like, teaching taught me to stand up in front of a room full of people. I know they're kids, but they're still.
No, still. Don't underestimate them.
And like that crazy multitasking, like,
yes.
It's taught me all of that. So it's been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like moments where I absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely don't have any regrets about going into that.
Yeah.
That career path.
I know, it's such a weird thing. It's like, obviously I've never had another career, so I can't really compare it to anything. But it's like, it's one of those careers where I feel like it deeply embeds itself into you. And you like, there's times when I'm like, I hate this. And then I'll be like crying about it the next 2 minutes. And I'm like, it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like, it just really wraps a finger around you. And it like sucks you in.
Yeah.
Whether you hate it or not.
Yeah.
And you can't like remove yourself from it. It's just like all consuming.
Yeah. And it's also, and obviously you can't avoid this in teaching, but because of the holidays, you're always counting down. So you never really get into like a nice flow because you're like, oh, it's only 3 more weeks. It's only 1 more week. It's only a few more days.
And then the last few days, complete write off.
Yeah.
And then the last few days after holiday.
Yeah.
Write off.
And then there's a windy day. Kids are nuts.
So you decided to leave teaching. At this point, did you have like a backup plan? Was the pottery like ramping up to support you? Like, give me a rundown of that.
Yeah, so I definitely set myself up with a backup plan. So first of all, as a science teacher, you're in demand. So I always,
especially as a woman too.
Yeah, so I always knew that like if the pottery wasn't going to work out, I would go back into teaching because, like I said, I didn't hate it. Just it wasn't really where I wanted it to go. And so I left my school on like really good terms. So I had that idea. I also, for a year, I dropped down to 4 days a week teaching. So I had one day where I would focus on the pottery. And then in terms of like the pottery side of things, it's really hard to get your work known and to sell your own work. And I always knew that would be the case. So when I dropped down to teaching 4 days a week, when I had that one day, I obviously did do some of my own making and but maybe actually my making was in the evenings. Maybe that, probably that. So that one day that I had, I started teaching pottery lessons.
Oh, fun.
Because it's easier stream of income than it's teaching.
Yes, yeah.
So that one day I would teach pottery lessons, and then I guess in the evenings and weekends I'd be making my own stuff and doing markets and things. So then after a year of that, I then left teaching completely. By that point I had like reviews and stuff about pottery teaching, so I had like that foundation. I'd obviously been at markets, so I could then just up the number of markets and then up my like social media presence. So I had all that going in the background, and then I always just thought, if it doesn't work out, I can go back to teaching.
Yeah. And 2 questions I have at the moment, but first one, how did you tell people you were leaving teaching?
I think I was actually really nervous and quite, I guess, almost like a little bit embarrassed because no one knew about the ceramics either.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like I'm leaving to go to another school. It's like I'm leaving and I'm going to do a job that people wouldn't really consider to be a career. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember feeling a bit embarrassed about telling people because I wanted them to take me seriously.
Yeah, it's tough when you... Because I'm sure the response was positive. Do you know?
Yeah.
So it's almost like in your head, these were assumptions that
and
you
the
had.
school said that I could go back and do like pottery courses and stuff with the kids, like if I did workshops. I never took them up on the offer, but they were like great about it. But it was I was really nervous about telling them before.
It's funny, like you have like a perception of how people are going to respond to things, And then it's honestly, same with me with doing the whole podcast thing. It's been nothing but like positive. And I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's because I made a social media account for the ceramics and I had never shared it with my colleagues.
Wow.
So when I was like, oh, I'm leaving and this is, if you want to follow me, you can as well.
And they're just like, wait, is this you?
Yeah, this is what you do?
Sorry, pardon? That must have been such a shock for them.
Yeah.
But like, how lovely to be able to be like, oh no, like this isn't a spur of the moment thing. Like I've actually been working on this for X amount of years.
And I had dropped down to that 4 days a week. So
Yes.
I'm sure I would have said at some point, that's what I'm doing some teaching and stuff. Yeah.
And when you started, because obviously when you initially started the pottery, it was a hobby. It was a, time for you and your husband to bond and like for you to be kind of free of all the chaos going on at work. Did the relationship between like creating and like the craft change when you started trying to monetize it?
Yeah. You can't avoid that. Like if you go in my kitchen and you open my cupboards, I don't have any nice ceramics. Like I would never sit down and just make something lovely for myself anymore. I used to when it was just a hobby, but I spend so long in the studio now that it's like, I love it. Like I'm not criticizing it, but I wouldn't then also choose to be there in my own time.
I understand. So it's now, have you replaced it with a different hobby?
So like running and cycling and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. That's nice that you've been able to like transition this and still have like a positive view of it. Yeah. It's like you still love it even now that you're making money from
I just
it.
wouldn't call it my hobby. It was really funny. Someone came for a pottery lesson and they said, so what do you do? Yeah. And I was like, I do this. And they were like, well, what else do you do? I do this.
Just this.
So I need
hilarious.
a hobby.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like I think for a lot of people, it's like, especially like of the older generation, it's like certain things cannot be a career. Yeah. It's like this thing in my brain, and not saying that I like have that perspective because there's so many people that have like such creative jobs and have been able to like fulfill amazing things. But I think like for certain people, it's like pottery. Wait, what? Like it doesn't like. And
you always think of like the broke potter, the one that's got no money,
broke artist. It's a terrible like trope.
Yeah.
Like, can we just throw that one out?
But there's not like, one day it'd be nice to like be having more money coming in, but I'm comfortable. Like I'm working really hard, but it's comfortable. You can make money from it.
And in terms of like your daily kind of, obviously you don't like routine, so I'm sure your day-to-day is very different. Yeah. But like, what are the current things that you're doing in your work?
So I would say there's like kind of 3 income streams that I've got. So my own ceramics. Yes. So I sell on my website. I'm also on a couple of different online shops, and I'm in physical shops as well. So there's that. Then the teaching. Yeah. So I'm still teaching ceramics. And then the other income stream is I work as a freelancer for a lighting company. I make ceramic shades for them. Oh, no.
What lighting company is it?
Say again?
What lighting company?
So they're called Spark and Bell.
They actually reached out, and it was the first person who ever reached out to me, and I was like, oh my God,
Eva's lovely. Eva's so lovely.
You know what? People got so busy, so I will reach out to her again.
So what was awesome, so I left teaching, and then in the summer, when I was transitioning to full-time ceramics, I was at a market in Brighton, and Ema was wandering around the market looking for new makers. So she, so cool. Yeah, so she works with local creatives in Brighton to come up with lighting designs. Wow. So she's lovely. She's so supportive, and it just happened at the right time. So I also make shades for her.
Amazing. Gosh, that's like, it's funny how things just happen the way that they're supposed to happen. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure if you believe in like, things will be what they'll be, but like, I very much believe in that. It's like, if you're in the right place at the right time, being open to things.
Yeah.
And saying yes. Yeah. Well, that's so exciting. I'll have to email her to be like, I've got to get you on now. But no, just life got in the way. But so that seems like a very... And does your husband work with you in this?
No, so not.
Okay.
So he still has a full-time job, and he's a graphics designer.
Lovely.
So that's really handy when starting a business, because logo, like,
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
any kind of marketing help, website help,
It's sorted.
Maybe one day, he's got to kind of work that out if he wants to do it full time. It's been a discussion of ours for a while whether he wants to come over and join me, but I think he's just got to work out whether he wants to stay in graphics or whether he wants to do the ceramics. So he essentially is like my overtime help, evening help, like any markets we go to, he's there. When I'm like tearing my hair out and everything's gone wrong, he'll like take up the glazing side for me. Like he's massively supportive.
We're very lucky, aren't we?
Like having someone that knows what you're trying to do and believes in you.
Because have you had moments where you're like, I can't, like you don't believe in yourself?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And what's like the running thought that goes in your mind when that happens? Like, what do you think?
It's like, am I ceramic shit?
I know.
Why would you buy this?
Yeah. Do you often compare yourself to other people?
All the time. Yeah.
And how do you get out of that mindset?
Sometimes I just go to bed.
Sleep is the only answer.
Because a day where you're just eating yourself up, just rule it out. But then I do try to think of the things that I've achieved and what I've done, and the compliments you get. And normally when something like that's happening, like a moment like that, I'll like get a little ding on my phone and something's sold. I'm like, what? People do want to spend money on it. So it's quite nice. And then like markets are really lovely, because then you're talking to people and they give you like feedback as well, and comment. Like it's not always positive. I don't think I've ever had any negative people at markets. So it's just talking to people really, isn't it? And trying to not compare yourself to what other people are doing.
And you said that you were an introvert. So how is that kind of... Obviously, you had the teaching thing, which taught you, the value of speaking in front of people. But do you ever find yourself like wary of like being at the markets? Like, does it ever feel like you're not comfortable in that environment?
I hate them. But it's one of the, again, it's back to that, like, but I know that I need to do them. So although like inside I'm like eating myself up, I'll like be smiling and chatty because
it's what you have
to do. And if you want to be successful and you want people to know about your ceramics and what you do, you have to talk to people.
Yes. And I suppose because when you initially I guess founded your business, and is it called Hig?
Oh, Huga. So Huga. So Huga is our open house name, and our pottery is Throw to Fire.
Okay, so open house name is Huga. And then Throw to Fire is your pottery and all that sort of stuff. So where did that name come from?
So which one? Throw to Fire. Throw to Fire. So me and my husband were doing pottery together. So we wanted a name for both of like to encompass both of us. So that's why we didn't obviously just go for a first name, because most people just do their first and last name and then put ceramics on the end. So we couldn't do that. We weren't married at the time, so we didn't have the same last name. So we were just trying to come up with something generic. So Throw to Fire, so you're throwing a pot and then you're going to fire it. Throw to Fire. And I really like it now. It's kind of
it's kind of it encompass everything well. And is that so? Throw to Fire, that is the classes, the pottery, and then also how you're working with Spark and Bell.
So when Ema advertises a lampshade that I've been working on, she'll say and elements from Throw to Fire.
How does that feel?
Oh, it's so lovely. So Ema, so I've done obviously markets, but I'm still like building up my own brand, I guess you could say. Ema, who I'm doing the lampshades for, she's a lot more established. So she did a big exhibition at Clerkenwell Design Week, and she was showcasing ceramic shades that obviously I'd been working on with her. And I went up to see them, and it was that moment of like, this is my work. And it was within the first 9 months of giving up teaching properly. And I was like, my ceramics are on display at like a big event.
And someone's buying them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So that's amazing. Especially like, I think it's nice when you get like those moments of like you said, when you're having like those moments of doubt and then you get the bing on your phone that someone's bought something.
Yeah.
It's like those moments are almost like put in our life to be like, no, you made the right choice.
Yeah.
And like 9 months in, perhaps you were like, did I do the right decision? Am I making the right choice? And then that happens. It's like reaffirming the fact that this is where you need to be right now.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing it up until now? How many years? It's been pretty recent, right?
So ceramics I've been doing for 8 years, but full time, yeah. So a year and a half, maybe. Wow. Yeah.
Amazing. That's crazy.
Like ceramics full time. Sorry, I should say that.
Yeah. Wow. And is it? I guess I'm just like trying to compare like ceramics where you have full flexibility for schedule. Mm-hmm. You know, like you were the sole person. Mm-hmm. And then in comparison to teaching, when you said like, it's almost like that counting down. You've got your counting down to holidays, counting down to Christmas, all that sort of stuff. How do you find it? Do you find it like weird to be like working more consistently, if that makes sense?
So I kind of work project based. So I'll have like, so I'm working with a coffee shop at the moment and they're putting an order for like a batch of mugs and bowls. Yeah. So that will be my focus. And then Sparkle Bell put an order in, that would be my next focus. Yeah. And then, or I'm preparing for a market, so I'll have that. So I kind of manage my time. So I've got like, projects, and they kind of all interweave a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I much prefer being in control of what I'm working on, like here and there, rather than being,
tied to something else. Yeah. So with working for yourself, because something I've noticed since starting the podcast is I'll be like so inspired and like so, yay, this is great. But then I'm like in like the dregs of like editing it, and I'm alone all day, and I'm like, I'm losing my mind. So coming from like a very social career as a teacher, how has it been transitioning to more like a more solo thing?
I mean I do like the solo side, that being like an introvert, but I know what you mean. And it's when like you have that week and everything's going wrong, and you've got deadlines and stuff, and you're doing something you don't really want to be doing. Mm-hmm. It's just, but it's part of it. I think it's because I love ceramics in general, that I just kind of allow that wave to come and go. So I know that like, as long as I just get this job done, it'll be gone. Like I just need to focus on it going. Mm-hmm. And what's really nice, my husband also works from home. Nice. He's working in his office in the house, and I'm in the studio. So we meet up for lunch every day.
Oh, that's lovely.
So that's so nice. I can't imagine him not being there and me spending an entire day in the studio every day by myself. Mm-hmm. So that's really, really helpful.
Maybe that's why I go crazy, because he goes to work and it's like, and living in a flat, it's like it'll be 5 p.m. and I haven't stepped outside. I'm just like,
you haven't seen anyone.
You haven't seen anyone. You haven't like had the social interaction. And I suppose because there is so much like variability in your job these days, it's like some days, you maybe are just doing your stuff in your studio, but then other days you're creating connections, you're at market. So it seems like you have a really nice mix of things.
There's every week's always different. And then obviously I teach, so there's people coming into the studio as well. So there's every week is always different.
And I suppose since you are self-taught, how did you do that exactly? Like how did you go about doing that?
So this comes back to the love of learning. So and that idea of like I always want to see how good I can be. Mm-hmm. And with my husband doing it with me as well, like I said, that competitive side as well. So we were a bit competitive with each other. But we initially did like a private lesson. Mm-hmm. So we did the throwing and the trimming. So there's 2 stages to making a pot. there's more, but they're the main stages. So we did 2 lessons together on that, and then we went to an open studio and just kept practicing. So ceramics is especially wheel throwing, it's a motor skill, so you just want to keep throwing and practicing and so we did that for quite like maybe a year or so, and then we signed up to another like short course, and then we bought a wheel, and so we could do it more in the evenings and stuff at home. And just watched loads of YouTube videos, and followed ceramicists that we liked, and saw what they were doing and tried to replicate it. And in ceramics, things always go wrong. Like nothing ever goes right. Yeah. So you just get used to, oh, that's a disaster, move on, next thing. Yeah. So for years, just dabbled, played around with ideas. And then I think I started to see like a bit more of a style in our ceramics come through after about 4 years maybe, and that's when we probably started doing a few markets, and then if I look back at photos of what our stuff looked, I mean, it is still ours. I mean, I'm fundamentally doing all the throwing now, but what our ceramics looked like 4 years ago, it's so different to what it is now. So when I first thought I saw a style, we've just refined it over the last 4 years without realizing, just from continuously throwing and
having that practice, essentially. Gosh. And that's crazy, because it does, I've only done it a few times, and it seems like it is true. It's like you have very little control over the final outcome because there's so much that could happen. And because I suppose, there's very little that we can control in life, but how do you deal with that? Like if you put something in the kiln and you're like, I really want this to work out, and then it comes out shattered, or it comes out a different color, or whatever might happen. How do you deal with that? Like,
just scream, scream and swear for a little bit, and then just do it again. I don't like the idea of not achieving in something. So if it goes wrong, I'll have a meltdown, and then I'll just do it again. I don't think there's anything that I haven't like repeated and done again.
I see.
Yeah. I had a commission before Christmas for 2 vases, which was amazing. So a lady commissioned 2 vases, and in ceramics you never just make 2 if you've got a commission. You always make a spare. So
in case something happens. I see.
So I had a really short window. So I made 3 vases, and I don't know why, but 2 of them broke. So I was like, okay. So screamed for a while, and then I had to make 2 more, because you have to make another one and then another spare. So for 2 vases, I ended up making quite a few.
Lovely. But she got them and she was happy?
Yeah, she was, and she was oblivious to everything that had been going on.
Exactly. Until she listens now, and then she'll be like, oh, she did a lot of work for those. Oh my goodness. And because obviously like so much has happened in the last year and a bit that you've been doing this full time. You've made connections with people, you've gotten into different spaces. How would you say you did that? Obviously, when you connected with Sparks and Bell, she came up to you, but how do you think, for instance, like coffee shops and creating things like that, how do you make those connections?
I try to talk to as many people as possible and ask as many questions as possible. So because I don't know, I know a bit more now, but I didn't know how to run a business, or let alone like run a ceramics business. Any opportunity to ask like neighbours at fairs and stuff, I would ask, and just keep asking questions, keep talking to people. And then I'm always hunting down opportunities. I'm like I spend a lot of time on social media, but not like unnecessary. My husband always, put your phone away, but
it's work.
It's work, exactly, it's work. Like I'm always like following like a trail on social, like why are they there, why are they selling their work there, who are they connected to, and I'll follow these trails, and then there'll be like an opportunity to apply for some kind of exhibition or something. And I'm like,
I can get in there.
So I do a lot of work on social media, like hunting things down, and researching stuff. And then some opportunities, I've been lucky enough that people have then approached me, which is lovely. But I've never been one to kind of sit back and wait for people to approach me. That's a bonus if that happens. Otherwise,
You're hunting for it
and sending out emails. Like I'm in a shop in Lewis, and I'm trying to find another shop to sell my ceramics in. So I'm sending out emails, and then lots of people don't reply. So sending out more emails, chasing it up. Yeah.
And I feel like we have a very similar approach to things. It's like you are constantly having to like chase the next opportunity. And again, I'm just like putting my own experiences on you. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But some of the things that like I struggle with when I'm constantly chasing things up and doing this and doing that and like spending like a full work day on this creative project.
Yeah.
It's like almost justifying it to myself because in the moment I don't get paid.
Yeah.
So how do you relate to that and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's so when I first started ceramics, I was looking like how do you put a price on something you make?
Yes.
And there was this idea that you count up how many hours you spent making that particular thing, then you add in the price.
So we know, how long would something like a vase take?
A vase it's really hard. So essentially, if you're going to make a tall, big vase, like they're hard to make. Yes. So I could like probably throw one now in like 20 minutes to 30 minutes, but that's because of 8 years of practice to get to that point.
Yes.
So let's say like a really simple little bowl.
Yes.
So a really simple little bowl that doesn't take as much practice to get to that point. So a tiny little bowl could take 5 minutes to make.
Okay.
And then clay's not that expensive.
Yes.
I add stains to my clay, which makes it really expensive. But if we forget about that, we just have basic clay and then a basic glaze. So you throw the bowl, then you trim the bowl. Yeah. So that's the next day, you refine it. And then you put it in the kiln, you wait 24 hours, take it out the kiln, you glaze it, which takes, I don't know, like 5 minutes. Put it back in the kiln, you wait another 24 hours, it comes out. And you might do a bit of sanding in between.
Okay.
So it's a long process because there's lots of steps. But I guess like the actual time on that tiny thing might have been like 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then they say work out your hours, like how much you want to get paid per hour.
Yes.
And then you then take into the cost of materials. But that's bullshit. Because what about all the marketing you've had to do? Yeah. What about the learning to get to that point so that it only takes 5 minutes to make? And then what about all the ones that crack that you then have to account for? And just like the cleaning of the studio, like studios you have to clean to make them safe environments because clay dust isn't very nice. So you're always cleaning, marketing, chasing opportunities, applying for things. So basing something you've made on your time to make it and the materials, it's just
not enough.
No.
That's so interesting because I never even considered that. Like, that didn't even like cross my mind, the fact that like you're doing all this other stuff and people just say, oh, just count this in. It's funny, like it is a hobby because I don't want to pursue it any further, but I knit a lot, so I've been like making sweaters and people will say to me, sell them, and I'm like, do you know how much I'd have to sell them for? To make anything? Like honestly about $1,000. Because it takes so long. And then the materials in general are just outrageously expensive. So it's like, it's interesting seeing you able to like monetize something that is so creative and yet be able to do it in like a relatively simple way. Like it seems like you have a straightforward process of doing that. Are you getting there?
Getting there.
Getting there,
And it's like, even when it comes to like the selling of it, like how are you going to sell it? Because you're going to sell it through a website, you've got to pay for a website.
True.
If you're going to sell it through a shop, they take a cut. It's really hard. And markets are so expensive. I've done a market before. And
really? It's expensive?
It's really expensive as a trader. That. And we've done markets and people have said, so what are your market deals? And it's like, whoa. We're not like selling stuff out the back of a van.
No.
Like we've paid to be here. So this, and then our time to be here selling this as well.
Which you have to factor in because you're not getting paid.
I mean, I don't factor.
Oh,
it's just the day out.
It's just the day out. Standing here.
But markets, people don't realise how expensive markets are, and it is a funny one because, for example, Christmas craft market. I'm going to go on a tangent now. Like a Christmas craft market, They normally get like some carol singers, and then they'll get some food vendors. The food vendors probably do pay to be there, but the carol singers, they often get paid to be there. So that's like the entertainment. So we'll pay you to come and sing. But all the craft people, they pay a lot for their pictures. And you're like, whoa. If we weren't here, there wouldn't be a craft market.
Yes. Yeah. That's so bizarre.
Yeah.
I didn't even like consider that, because I often, you know, next time I go to a craft market, I will appreciate that more, because sometimes I pick something up and I'm just like, oh Lord, can't buy that.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. It's like you're supporting a small business.
Yeah.
You know, and there's, it's, do you like, what do you hope for the future? Do you hope to kind of be brought on by someone else? Do you hope to maintain like as a solo thing?
I kind of want to keep it small. I mean, I change my mind all the time, but I think keep it small. Maybe if my husband does want to join, that would be great. But be known as Throw to Fire, so that people come and like seek out your ceramics. That would be really lovely. Whether I keep doing lessons, I'm not sure, because lessons are great. They do take up a lot of time. But just to be more known, for my ceramics, and then probably selling directly through myself, rather than through shops, which but it's hard. Like to run a shop is very hard, to, you know, profit margins and everything. But when you're selling like a handmade thing wholesale, it's really hard, because it's not like I can, you know, just go and order some more. I've got to make more, and I've only got a limited time, so it's tricky to go down the wholesale route.
Does it ever feel like you're kind of almost chasing your tail?
All the time.
And how do you, like, especially with myself, it's like it can be hard to pause, because then you feel like, oh, the engagement's going to go down. This is going to go down. I'm going to lose this trail. Like, it's hard to like turn yourself off. Because with teaching, it's the end of the day. And even though like some of the day can linger in your brain, it's like, okay, there's actually nothing more I can do here. But with this, it's like, no, you could always be pursuing new things. So how do you like separate?
I haven't.
How do you plan? Do you want to separate?
No, I do. I'm a massive overthinker, so I need to set some more boundaries.
It's hard though.
It's really hard, and also pots. When you make a pot, I always say they're like I don't know, like house plants. You've got to check on them. So if they dry out too quickly, then they crack, or if you want to work on them a bit further and they've dried out, you can't use them. So you're having to constantly go into the studio and monitor them. So you wrap them up at night in plastic so they don't dry out any further. And you check on them in the morning. So even though, like, you know, I'll finish throwing in a day, I'll finish, I don't know, whatever time I finish on a particular day, let's just say it was 5 o'clock, I'll still probably go back in at 10 o'clock to wrap up the pots for the night.
I wrap them up. It's time for bed.
And then if I'm not planning on working in the studio on the next day, I'll probably still have to go in and just check that they're okay, or wrap them up fully.
That's crazy. It becomes part of your daily life and part of your personal life. But because you love it, does it feel less like a job?
Yeah, definitely. No, I do really enjoy it. And the fact that I'm doing it, it's still mind blowing. Like I would never have dreamed that I'd be doing this and making money out of it. Especially when I was, during all that time teaching and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. It was only towards the very end I thought, oh, I could make money out of the ceramics. But for the majority of that time, I would never have guessed I'd be doing this.
And do you ever like look back at like your education, you know, coming from a biology degree, doing your master's, PhD, teaching, do you ever, I don't want to like put words in your mouth and say regret, but do you ever wish you had like pursued this sooner? And I'll say the second question because it's kind of separate, but do you still use the biology? in any way to this day?
No, I don't think I do use the biology at all. But I definitely don't regret the path that I've been on, because it's like every stage that I've gone through, I mean, it all plays into who you are as a person now.
Exactly.
And if I hadn't have done like the teaching, like I said, I wouldn't have found my voice and be able to stand up and you know, comes into the teaching now, but have the confidence to communicate with people and put yourself out there. That's all come through the teaching, and it's probably come through all the degree and everything as well. So definitely don't regret not doing this sooner.
Wow. Well, it's so exciting to hear like that you are. It's really refreshing, because like we said at the beginning, it's like the whole starving artist thing. It's nice to see that you're an artist and you're not starving for once. For one thing, but you're like thriving, you know, you are making a life for yourself, doing the thing that you love. And you're also saying that sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's shitty and sometimes, you know, you've doubts and second guess yourself, but that's just kind of like the reality of the situation. It's like, do you think you'll ever get to a point where you don't doubt yourself anymore? You don't?
I don't think so, because when the better you get at your craft, you're then, your goalposts change, don't you? So then you'll start looking towards someone else and admiring what they're doing. So I think I'll always have an element of doubt that I'm good enough, but it's not going to stop me from still doing it.
Oh man. And have your family partaken at all in this?
So I've taught my mum a couple of lessons.
Lovely.
She did produce a pot.
Nice.
That was lovely.
Did she do the backup pot or just the one pot?
She just did the one pot, and it did crap.
Oh, so that's okay. How did you learn about the backup pot? Was that someone told you that? Or did you find out?
You've ruined enough that you know.
You know you got to do the backup.
But the cracks they are less common as you get better at like compressing the clay and stuff. But so my mum, she has made a pot and she does want to come and do a bit more. I've taught my mother-in-law.
Oh, fun!
Which was really fun. And then like I've taught friends and stuff along the way. I think everyone always wants to have a go, which is really lovely, because it is really fun to teach.
It's nice that you're like able to share this passion with people, and I think it's like not something that's like super readily available, because it's not like you can just walk into someone's home and be like, oh, there's my wheel. There's my pile of clay. Even though I do have a pile of clay right here. Did you like that joke? I've been waiting for this whole time.
I knew you had one.
My pile of clay. No, I can't shape you into anything though. You're just a mound of bone and structure and human bones. Look at me and my biology degree. Anyways, but it's just like, that's lovely. And now, actually, since we have a little bit more time left, I would like to hear about, because 5 minutes? Okay. Because if you are listening to this and you're local to Brighton, I'm not sure when this is coming out, now that I say this. However, I'm sure people are very familiar with the Brighton open houses. So what made you get involved with that? And how did that kind of come about?
So it's kind of like a too good opportunity to miss. So essentially open houses, I think they do it in different cities, but Brighton's like, it's a really well known. And what it is artists essentially open their houses or their studios and then to the public. So for the month of May, the public can come into your space and then they can buy your work from you directly. So we first opened our studio and our house 3 years ago. So at that point was just before it was when I was thinking about giving up teaching.
Okay.
And we had actually just finished renovating. When I first suggested it to my husband, we were in the midst of renovating.
Lovely.
So it was like a deadline.
It's like, it needs to be done.
We had we were building this beautiful house. It was like we could open it up, and we've got this pottery studio, and I'm thinking about going into to ceramics full time. So why not jump at this opportunity?
Of course.
So the other thing you can do with it is you don't just have to show your work, you can show other people's work as well.
Okay.
So through markets and like spark and bell. You end up talking and making networks with people in the city. So I know different craftspeople that we then exhibit their work as well. So every year we have a different selection of other artists that exhibit their work within our house and studio space as well. And yeah, this is our 3rd year. And our open house, which you asked earlier, our open house is called Hygge. And Hygge is a Danish term which means like cozy comfort. So our house is like a little bit Danish, I guess, Scandinavian in appearance, and then people often comment that our ceramics is a little bit Scandinavian, so we kind of played on the open house name.
Wow. And I'm just realizing you're basically doing a 7-day, you're basically working every single day this month.
Yes.
So this is thank you for coming. I really should have put that into consideration when I was like, oh, come in May.
But so because I know that like I'm doing this this evening, I've only done a little bit in the studio this morning.
Okay, good.
But like I could, if I really wanted to, take a day off. I've just got lots that is going on in the studio at the moment.
Yes.
I feel more sorry for my husband that doesn't actually get to take a proper day off at all.
Yes. And it's just like, go.
Yeah,
You'll deserve a holiday after this is complete and wrapped up. Well, we are almost out of time, my lovely listeners. Before we finish up, though, my last thing that I'd like to grasp from you and get your advice on is if someone is like, not feeling passionate in their job or not enjoying their job, or it's just kind of draining them, how... And they want to make the leap into something else. What would you suggest? What's your advice to kind of go about that?
Have a backup plan.
Yes.
Because fully quitting and having no other financial income is terrifying. So if you can, build up what you're thinking about going into. So if it's a creative thing, build it up slowly. And I know you don't know how well it's going to go until you make that leap. But if you can build it up so you've got some foundations, and then don't be scared of failure. So have that backup plan. So if it doesn't work out, you've got something else that you can do, because there's nothing worse than, especially if you're making a passion into a career, that having that pressure of having to get money, as well as trying to enjoy, what you've been dreaming of, and you've got a mortgage to pay and you need food bills and stuff. So if you can slowly transition and have a backup plan, I'd say they're the two things.
I think that is really practical advice, because I think some people are just like, believe in yourself, and it's just like, well, that would be nice. If
you don't have to pay a mortgage and you've got someone that can feed you, fine. But
but it's I think it's important to say, like, if you want to make this happen, here are some like actual ways that you can make it happen. Like, have a slow transition, put in a backup plan, and understand that if you put your best effort in and it doesn't work out, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, you'll do your best, and whatever will be. Yeah.
And sometimes things don't work out and it might not be your fault.
And then you can pursue something else.
Yeah.
And like you said, like, so many beautiful opportunities have come to you, and I think that's just going to keep happening. As I've talked about with multiple other people in this podcast, it's like being open, having a network of people to support you, saying yes to opportunities that scare you. Like, those are the kind of the reoccurring themes, and I think you just solidified all of them, which is amazing. So, very last thing, how can people find you? Where can we find your work?
So I've got a website, which is throwtofire.co.uk, and I'm on socials as well. So on Instagram, I'm at throwtofire as well. Lovely. And it's all one word.
Lovely. So that's at Throw to Fire on all the social medias. Please give a lovely follow, and I'll link everything down below. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you had fun.
I did. Yeah, I'm not as nervous anymore.
You shouldn't be. I'm like so all over the place. It doesn't even matter. Anyway, thanks so much for listening today, and we will see you next week. Bye. Good. Lovely.